What's going on, everybody? Halo Drama here, back with another Magic the Gathering Commander video. I know it's been a while, but hey, life happens, you'll have that. But I'm here nonetheless, and today I'm going to cover a deck I made with Hinata Dawn Crowned. Costs 1 in Jeskai, that's red, white, and blue, America, and it's a 4/4 legendary creature, Kieran Spirit. Has flying and trample. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each target. Spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast for each target. I feel like this ability is slightly broken in a sense. Like, I think it's funny that now somebody would have to pay 2 mana to play a Path to Exile. I don't know why I think that's funny. Well, my opponents, obviously, anyway. And remember, if anybody has watched any of my other deck videos, I don't really go out of my way for these decks. I just happen to have a big collection of cards, and I just make the decks out of stuff that I have and hope for the best. And this deck hasn't been too bad. Could use some improvement, but it is what it is. What deck can't? But alright, let's get into it. The deck only has 2 Planeswalkers in it. So let's go ahead and just start covering, get those out of the way. And the first one is Kasmina Enigmatic Mentor. That's not the version I have, but that does look pretty slick. Starts off with 5 loyalty. Spells your opponent's cast that target a creature or planeswalker I control cost 2 more to cast. Has a -2 ability. Create a 2/2 black wizard creature token. Draw a card, then discard a card. I'm not personally really ever concerned with the -2. I more or less love it for its static ability, making my opponent's stuff that targets my stuff cost more to cast. That's the part I like about that. And the other planeswalker that is in this deck is... Are you there? Yes, you are. Dovin, Hand of Control. Costs 2 and a hybrid Azorius. Starts off with 5 loyalty. Again, it's more or less the static ability that I like about this artifact. Instant and sorcery spells your opponent's cast costs 1 more to cast, but he also has a -1 until your next turn. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt by a target permanent and opponent controls. Again, I more or less just care about the static ability, but I have used the -1 on this before for certain threats. Mainly stuff like Blightsteel. I'm like, I need you to sit still for a second, please. Alright, and yep, those are the only those are the only planeswalkers in the deck. Let's get into the creatures. I will make sure to leave timestamps and in the video. I'm trying to learn how to make chapters, but I still haven't got it down packed yet. But in any event, the first creature that is on my stack here is Bastion Protector. Costs 2 and a white for a 3/3 human soldier. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. I feel like that doesn't really need a lot of explanation as to why it's in the deck. It makes your commander stronger and invulnerable to most targeted removal. You can still be exiled, unfortunately, but can't be destroyed. So, yeah. Next, let's see what we got here. I should have made more room before I started this. Sorry for any extra noise. But anyway, let's see what we got here. I spelled that right? Yes, I did. Because I always thought it said Haunty, but it's Haughty. Haughty Jin. 1 and 2 blue for a star 4. It's flying. Haunty's power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in my graveyard, which we will get to that because there's a lot of them in here. But instant and sorcery spells I cast cost 1 less to cast. Needless to say, that's awesome in its own right, making my stuff cost 1 less. And with my commander on the board, their targets costs 1 less. So yeah, it just stacks on. You guys know what I'm getting at. For me, it's early in the morning, so I'm still kind of getting my bearings about myself, but I wanted to try and get a video out the way, seeing as I haven't done one in a while. And the next one we have here is Docent of Protection. It costs, well, it starts off here. So for 3 and 2 blue, you get a 5/4 insect whore. Has flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human wizard creature token onto the battlefield. Then if you control 3 or more wizards, transform Docent, and it becomes final iteration. It becomes a 6/5 Eldrazi insect with flying. Wizards you control get +2/+1, and have flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human wizard creature token onto the battlefield. Gonna be casting quite a few instant sorceries in this deck, so why not get some tokens out of them? That's kind of the way I looked at it. Like I said, I don't go out of my way for this stuff. I just build it with stuff that I have that I think looks nice, and then I adjust it accordingly. But I kind of like the way this deck turned out. So, and next I have an oldie but goodie. Pretty much needs no introduction. Young Pyromancer, 2/1 human Shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token. Pretty much the same exact concept as the Docent. Gonna be casting a ton of instant sorceries, so I feel like I would definitely get the value out of that. The next creature, because these aren't in any particular order, I just separated them between Planeswalkers, creatures, enchantments, sorceries, instants, and artifacts. I stopped covering basic lands. I'm going to stop covering non-basic lands too, depending on what they are, if they hold some kind of actual significance to the deck. And the non-basic lands I have in here don't at the moment, but I'm sure I'll change that at some point. They're just more or less like maybe some gates or, stuff that comes in taps for dual colors and stuff like that. Nothing super exciting. And the next one that I have in here that falls under the same category as the last two cards. Murmuring Mystic. Excuse me. For 3 and a blue, you get a 1/5 human wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token. Falls under the same category. Going to be casting a lot of instants and sorceries in this deck. You will see that when we come to it. And I hope I'm not talking too fast. Usually I think I take too long, so I'm trying to get through these so that way I can, not as much editing for me, and the video is shorter for you guys. So, and the next card is Goblin Electromancer. Cost is that's blue and red for a 2/2 Goblin Wizard. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And like I said, this is all going back to Hinata. She takes care of all the targets when she's on the board. So, if my instants and sorceries cost 1 less, obviously I can get them out there faster. They can do their thing. There's another reason for this, but we'll get to that when we get to the instants and sorceries. Anybody who plays this game on a regular basis, you may or may not know some of the instants and sorceries that may be in this deck, but again, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's see what we got here. If I can even pronounce this right. Let's see. Because I do butcher some of these names sometimes. Who doesn't? Omniscience. No, I'm just playing. Kalafi? That's what I'm going to go with. Beloved of the Sea. For 1 and 2 blue, you get a star 3 legendary enchantment creature demigod. Kalafi's power is equal to your devotion to blue. Not so much worried about that. I love the static ability though. Creatures and enchantments you control. Creature and enchantments you control have spells your opponents cast that target this permanent costs 1 more to cast. Just another stacks card that's gonna make your stuff cost more to mess with my stuff. Pretty self-explanatory there. And the next one we have here. Just happened to find this card in a stack of cards that I had, and I was like, why am I not using this? Archmage Emeritus. That's what we're gonna go with. If I pronounce that wrong, you'll get over it. So for 2 and 2 blue, you get a 2/2 human wizard. Has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Pretty self-explanatory there, because like I said, with the way Hinata works, wow, this middle one actually looks pretty slick. It looks cold though. But anyway, yeah, gonna be casting a lot of instant sorceries. And let's see the next card that we have. Next creature. Excuse me. I have Soulfire Grandmaster for 1 and a white. You get a 2/2 human monk. It has lifelink. Instant and sorcery spells you control have lifelink. That's pretty awesome. And it also has, you can pay 2 and 2 Izet hybrids. The next time you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand this turn, put that card into your hand instead of your graveyard as it resolves. That is a nasty ability. Granted, depending on what the instant and sorcery cost, that, paying the 2 and 2 Izet hybrids might be a little costly sometimes, but again, that's the thing about Magic. The game is situational. Depends on the board state, depends on your mana, depends on what you have available, all that good stuff. Everybody always has answers for stuff. Well, you say you have a creature and it does this, like, yeah, but that dies to Doomblade. Yeah, it might die to Doomblade, but do you have a Doomblade in your hand? Because if you don't, then what you're talking about is completely irrelevant. And the next one I have is Essior, Wardwing Familiar. For 1 and a blue, you get a 1/3 legendary creature bird, has flying, spells your opponents cast that target 1 or more commanders you control, costs 3 more to cast. Has partner, but in this deck, that's irrelevant. So yeah, with this on the board, if you try to target Hinata with something, because of Hinata ability and because of this, you're going to have to pay 4 extra, which not a lot of people are willing to do. But I mean, if they got the mana to spare, do you? I can't knock it. You win some, you lose some. So yeah, like this card for that reason. Even considered trying to find a partner to go with this to make its own deck. Might do that in the future. Any suggestions? Please comment. And let's see, the next one I have here is a card I just got in Dominaria. Yeah, I thought it would be a really good fit in this deck. Najal, the Stormrunner. For 2 blue, and a red, you get a 5/4 legendary creature, a freak wizard. You may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. That's nasty in its own right. Also has, whenever Najal attacks, you may pay 2. If you do, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Yeah, I just got this card, and I actually have this version too. So, is 2 or 3 the same? I don't see any difference in that. Outside of the mana symbols are moving, and the number changed. But in any event, yeah, sorcerers have flash. You can possibly copy a 5/4. A 5/4 can be dealt with, but a 5/4 is a lot to deal with. So I got no problem swinging at you if the situation arises. Let's see. The next one I have here is, I'm not going to lie, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Battlefield T, that's what I'm going to say, because I'm just trying to get through this video. For 1 and a blue, you get a 2/1 human wizard. Each instant and sorcery spell you cast costs 1 less to cast for each target, which is the exact same thing Hinata does. Has heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Battlefield T, it gains hexproof until end of turn, so something that'll also help keep that on the board. Granted, I don't think I have a lot of things that target my own stuff. No, yes I do. I have a few things. I do have a few things. But again, we'll get to that. Next, we have Feather the Redeemed for, excuse me, a white and two, oh, I'm sorry, a red and two white. You get a 3/4 legendary creature angel. Whenever you cast, or flying, whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. And right when I said I didn't think I had very many, I do have a few things that will target my stuff. And with Hinata on the board, I can, depending on what the spell is, I can target my stuff and I can target all of your stuff. But again, it depends on the spell. Obviously, it would have to benefit me, but yeah, we'll cross the instant and sorcery spells when we get there. I know I sound like a broken record and I keep repeating myself, but you know how it goes sometimes. Not to mention that if some people even watching this video know what a broken record sounds like. That's my age showing, unfortunately. It is what it is. But next I have Fire, Song, and Sunspeaker. For 4 and Boros, that's red and white, you get a 4/6 legendary creature, Minotaur Cleric, whatever. Red instant and sorcery spells you control have lifelink. Awesome ability. Whenever a white instant or sorcery spell causes you to gain life, Fire and Sun deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Basically, a lightning bolt something. So yeah, red shit to do damage, gain life. White stuff to gain life, do damage. Ain't that some shit, right? Thought that'd be a good fit in here. And oh, not a you. Next, I have a Mnemonic Wall. For 4 and a blue, you get a 0/4 wall. Has Defender. When it enters the battlefield, you may return instant or sorcery card from your graveyard from your graveyard to your hand. Pretty self-explanatory what that's in there for, to get your instant sorceries back. Yeah. A little more than halfway through the creatures, then we shall get to the few. Oops, sorry. Damn it, I'm tripping. The few enchantments that I do have in this deck. Excuse me. And this is Elsha of the Infinite. For 2 and Jeskai, red, white, and blue. America. That's what I should just start calling that. America. Wouldn't that have been funny if that's what they'd have named that guild? Rather than Jeskai, they just called it America. Wizards should have routed that. You get a 3/3 legendary creature, Jin Monk. Has prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. That part's always awesome. You may cast a non-creature spell from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, you may cast it as though it had flash. This could be the commander of this deck in its own right. But I like Hinata. I like what she's capable of. But this could get pretty nasty itself. And believe me, there are plenty of non-creature spells in this deck. Not that it's even in here for fighting. It's more in here so, yeah, I can cast things off the top of my library at instant speed. Okay. And next we have Radane is French. God of the Worthy. For 2 and a white, you get a 2/3 legendary creature, God. Lord. Has flying and vigilance. Snow lands your opponent's control into the battlefield tapped. Haven't come across that issue yet, but that's not to say that I won't. But it's the static ability of it that I more care about. The second paragraph, I should say. They're both static abilities. But non-creature spells your opponents Cast with converted mana cost 4 or greater cost 2 more to cast. So, yeah. Time Warp, pay 7. If you can, then you can. There's really nothing I can do about that. But yeah, big spells, those late game spells, yeah, you don't have to pay 2 more to cast those. Or, as you see here, you can either cast it for its creature side or you can cast it for its artifact side. And its artifact side is Valkmira Protector Shield. For 3 and a white, you get a legendary artifact. If a source an opponent controls would deal damage to you, or a permanent you control, prevent one of that damage. Whenever you or another permanent you control become the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless its controller pays 1. I honestly don't think I have ever cast it for its artifact side. That's not to say that I will never cast it for its artifact side. I guess it's just a situational thing. If I can recognize that somebody's running a bunch of low cost, powerful stuff, then yeah, I would cast it for its artifact side. But this is Commander we're talking about, so I feel like this side makes more sense. But, like I said, that's the thing about Magic. Everything is situational. Especially when you meet new people. You never know what you're going to run into. And the next creature, almost done with the creatures, I call it Skrillex. So that's just what I'm going to call it. Storm Skrillex. Costs 3 and is set for a 2/4 Drake Whore. Has flying. Instant or sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Skrillex gets +2/+0 until end of turn. There's just more in here for the instant sorceries cost 1 less, but I'm not going to say I've never cast like 3-4 instant sorceries in a turn and swung at somebody with this, because that has definitely happened. But next, like I said, I'm almost done with the creatures. Matter of fact, I only have 4 left. And let's see. I have Jubilant Skybonder for 1 and 2 Azorius hybrids. Azorius is white and blue, for anybody that doesn't know. You get a 2/2 human wizard. Has flying. Creatures you control with flying have spells your opponents cast that target this creature. Cost 2 more to cast. So, yeah, it makes itself harder to remove, and it makes my commander harder to remove, because my commander is definitely flying. So, yeah, when I thought of this deck, that's what I thought of. Initially, it was making my stuff cost 1 less, but then I was like, you know what? Let's see how much stuff that I can find in my collection that makes my opponent's stuff cost 1 more. And we can just do this. We can do the stack of things both ways. As could I, Lord Frieza, if anybody gets that joke. Next, third to last, I have Stormkiln Artist. For 3 and a red, you get a 2/2 Dwarf Shimon. Stormkiln Artist gets +1/+0 for each artifact I control. Has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. I really fucking like this card, and with this card, I get value out of it insanely. It's not really in there to attack because its toughness is so low, but man, have I gotten a bunch of treasure tokens off of this thing that just help out with a lot of the instant sorceries you guys are gonna see. Alright, second to last creature I have is Baral, Chief of Compliance. For 1 and a blue, you get a 1/2 legendary creature human wizard. Instant sorcery spells I cast cost 1 less to cast. There's a theme there, isn't there? Whenever a spell or ability I control counters a spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. That second ability, you don't have to worry about. I know some people will or won't be butthurt about this, but I do not run counter spells because counter spells are lame. That's just my personal opinion. Everybody has something about this game that they hate, and I personally hate counter spells. Hate Infect too. They're both lame as fuck. That's just a personal opinion of mine. If you love counter spells and you run counter spells, more power to you. Me hating them does not make them any less part of the game, and sometimes you got to deal with that kind of stuff. It is what it is, no matter how irritating it is, and it is. And the last creature that I have in here is Towering Sky Summoner. Another one. It used to be a commander of mine back in the day. If any of you have watched my video on Kami, the blue deck that I have, which is on the channel in my playlist, so decks, please check that out. This used to be the commander for it until I found Kami, and I like Kami better, but still has a place, still has home in a couple decks of mine. For 2 and 2 blue, you get a 2/2 legendary creature Merfolk Wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. In the same instance of those other same categories of those spells, I cast instant sorceries, I get creatures for them. Chump blockers or just all around attackers. Just again depends on the board state. Alright, that's it for the creatures. Let's go into the enchantments, and there are actually only 5. Who knows, that may change in the future, but at the moment there are only 5, because like I said, I just make this stuff out of stuff that I have, and hope for the best, and it is what it is. I change things accordingly, just like everybody does. But for 2 and a blue, you will get this enchantment. Instant and sorcery spells I cast cost 1 less to cast. Yeah, you guys get that theme already? Whenever I cast an instant or sorcery spell, I get to scry 1. Yeah, who doesn't like that? Scrying is awesome. Oh, for anybody who doesn't know, like, scry, and for whatever the number is, this one happens to be 1. Whenever you scry, you look at the top, whatever the scry number is, you look at the top cards of your library, you can choose to put them back on top of your library, you can put them on the bottom. So granted, this is only scry 1, so I can look at 1, I can choose to leave it where it is, or I can put it on the bottom if it's not useful to me at the moment. And let's see, the next one I have here is Whirlwind of Thought. Costs 1 in America. Enchantment, obviously. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. That's pretty self-explanatory. And enchantments are non-creature spells, even though there's not that many in here. But like I said, there's a bunch of sorceries, there's a bunch of instants, and there are some artifacts in this deck. So I'm drawing cards off of each of those that I cast. So yeah. The third to last. That really wasn't that far from the top. Aura of Silence. For 1 and 2 white, you get this enchantment, artifact, and enchantment spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast. That's pretty nasty that you're going to have to pay 4 for those Swiftfoot boots. Or even pay 3 for that Colossus hammer. It is what it is. But the thing about it is, whatever you cast, there is a slight possibility, because this Aura of Silence also has sacrifice, and you can do that at instant speed. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. So there's a slim chance that you might be willing to pay it, but there's also a bigger chance that I might be willing to destroy it as soon as you do. It's all a gamble, and it's up to you to shoot that shot. It's up to me to more or less possibly pull the trigger. And I must have spelled that wrong. I can see where I messed up. Oh my god, I messed up in 2 spots. It's not my day right now, I guess. And the next one, second to last, is Monastery Siege. I like this card back in the day. For 2 and a blue, you get this enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you can choose cons or dragons. If you choose cons, at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card, then discard a card. If you choose dragons, spells your opponents cast that target you or a permanent you control cost 2 more to cast. More often than not, I'm picking dragons for this, just as another stacks piece that makes your stuff cost more to try to mess with my stuff. But I can't say I've never picked cons before. Again, it just depends on the board state. If I feel like I'm drawing dead and I draw this and I can get this on the battlefield and I need some extra help, I'm going to choose cons. So, yeah. And the last enchantment in this deck is an enchantment that I have loved since back in the day. It is in multiple decks that I own. Oh my god, I'm spelling out enchantment because I'm thinking of enchantments. Oh man. And it is Dismiss into Dream. Love this card. I do not care that it costs 7 mana. I love this card and I'm not taking it out of this deck or any deck that I have that it's in. For 6 and a blue, you will get this enchantment. Each creature your opponents control is an illusion in addition to its other types, and has, when this creature becomes the target of spell or ability, sacrifice it. The thing I love about this card, outside of the fact that I'm going to be targeting a lot of your stuff, and with Hinata, I can target all your stuff. If it's, depending on what the spell is, I can, with Hinata on the board, I can legitimately target all your creatures. Granted, the spell won't happen because as soon as the initial target spell won't resolve because as soon as I target your creatures, you're going to sacrifice them all. And another part that I really love about this deck is you can't use equipments. My opponents can't equip equipments. They can't put auras on their creatures because as soon as you target it for any of that stuff, you're going to have to sacrifice it. That is amazing. I know there are ways around it before anybody says that, but you get the point. Don't be one of those people. You get the idea. Alright, now I'm going to go into the sorceries of this deck. And the first one that I saw here is Aethergale. For 3 and 2 blue, return 6 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Now the thing about it is that yes, it does target, but it doesn't necessarily say your opponents. So if there are not 6, when you cast this, which also keep in mind that with Hinata on the board, this is only going to cost 2 blue. Because you're going to have at least 3 targets and it costs 1 less for each target. So this is only going to cost 2 blue to bounce 6 non-land permanents to their owner's hand. But you also have to keep in mind that if there are not enough targets between your opponents, you're going to have to pick something of your own, which I have done before. It is what it is. If I have to sacrifice my stuff to get rid of a threat right at that very moment, then that's what I'm going to do. But yeah. Let's see, and the next one I have here is Bonfire of the Damned. Costs costs red and 2X, so for every 2 mana you pump into it, it only counts for 1. But with Hinata on the board, it takes away one of those X's. So, booyaka. Because Bonfire of the Damned deals X damage to target player. With Hinata on the board, it takes away one of those X's, so you can just pay red and however much mana that you want. But Bonfire of the Damned deals X damage to target player and each creature he or she controls. So it is definitely a pseudo board wipe. Has a miracle cost for red and 1X. Miracle means you may cast this card for its miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew this turn, which actually just happened to me the other day, and it was a top deck save because I was about to die. Top deck this and wipe my friend's board clean, and it was amazing. But yeah, booyah. Like I said, depending on the cards, I've realized almost immediately that when I pulled Hinata out of Neon Dynasty, that I was like, what? This does what? Like, there are so many broken things that can go with this. And the next one I have is Curse of the Swine. For 2 blue and X, exile X target creatures. For each creature exiled this way, its controller creates a 2/2 green board creature. Now, I've used this on myself, and I have most definitely used it on my opponents. Granted, yes, I'm aware that you're giving your opponents 2/2 creatures, but you also just exiled, say, Blightsteel. something huge. You exiled a Terrastodon. Yeah, you exiled something huge that they had on the board that was a legitimate threat to you, and they get a 2/2 boar in return. You can have that 2/2 boar if I can not have to look at that Blightsteel anymore. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Like I said, I'm sure a lot of you guys figured that there were going to be a lot of X spells in this deck. It was legit the first thing I thought of when I saw her ability. And then there's cards like Fireball, which is absolutely ridiculous with Hinata and all those spells, or all those permanents that I have that make my instants and sorceries cost 1 less. For 1 red and X, this spell costs 1. This spell costs 1 more to cast for each target beyond the first. But guess what? Hinata takes that away. That doesn't exist anymore. You can choose as many targets as you want. All you have to do is Fireball deals X damage divided evenly, rounded down amongst any number of targets. You can target as much stuff as you want. And like I said, because of Hinata, this first sentence is gone. Completely erased. And all you have to do is pump the X into it. And you can divide it up any way you see fit. That is awesome. I never seen that that art. That's slick as hell. I want one of those now. But in any event, let's see next. Oh, I'm sure people are going to say something crazy about, oh, I was not in the box. I'm tripping. That's not what she said, by the way. You have mass manipulation. Now, the only issue with this card is the fact that it has the four blue pips. So that does make it a little rough to play, but I have gotten this to work before, and I highly doubt that I'm taking it out of the deck anyway. So, well, who knows? You never know what the future will hold. I can't say never. But for 4 blue and 2 X, just like the Bonfire of the Damned, but with Hinata on the board, just like the Bonfire of the Damned, it takes away one of the X's. So if you can pay 4 blue and some random amount of X, you will gain control of X target creature and or planeswalkers. Let me just, please, if I have enough mana, let me just hold everything on the board that doesn't have hexproof or shroud that I can't touch. Never taken anybody's planeswalker with this, but I haven't ran into that issue yet. But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I like that card. Just take everybody's stuff in one fell swoop. Next sorcery I have is, come on, Pull from the Deep, an oldie but goodie. For 2 and 2 blue, return up to 1 target instant card and up to 1 target sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Then you have to exile Pull from the Deep. More often than not, this card is only going to cost 2 blue, because not only do I have all those things that make my instants and sorceries cost 1 less, with Hinata on the board, there are 2 different targets. So, gone. Let's just pay 2 blue, get a thorough instant and sorcery back from my graveyard. Let's see, what else do we have here? I have Rolling Thunder for 2 red and X. Rolling Thunder deals X damage divided as you choose amongst any number of targets. Again, with Hinata on the board, I can target everything for free just because she exists. All I have to do is pay the X into it as much as I want, or as much as I'm able to, and divide it up any way that I see fit. So yeah, that's awesome. Now here's a card I have not got to utilize yet, but I cannot wait till the day that I can, and because I think it's going to be hilarious. And it's By Force. For red and X, destroy X target artifacts. So basically, with Hinata on the board, just pay red. Pay 1 red mana to blow up all your opponent's artifacts. You realize how ridiculous that is? I feel like this card's broke as hell. even if they were going to make a card like this, I almost feel like they could have made the mana cost a little higher. But I'm sure at the time Amonkhet came out, they didn't know at the time that they were going to make a card like Hinata. You know how it is. A new card will make an old card way more broken than it already was. Yeah, that's the case with this. Again, I haven't gotten to utilize this yet, but I'm sure I will one day, and I'm definitely not taking it out of the deck. Because when I finally do get that off, giggity, it's going to be hilarious. Oh, no. What the hell? Oh, that messed me up for a second. The next sorcery I have, and still got a little bit of ways to go, is Sanctify. For 1 and a white, you can destroy target artifact or enchantment, and you gain 3 life. So basically, the way this deck works, basically you're going to pay 1 white, destroy something, gain 3 life. Yeah, that's pretty cut and dry there. And then the next card is pretty much almost in the same category. Solemn Offering. For 2 and a white, you're going to destroy a target artifact or enchantment, and you gain 4 life. With Hinata on the board, even if she was on the board by herself, you'd pay 2 for this to destroy something. If she's on the board, or if I have multiple things on the board that make my instant sorceries cost 1 less, more often than not, you're only going to pay 1 white. Or I should say, I'm only going to pay 1 white. I'm going to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and I'm going to gain 4 life. Who's going to argue with that? Next, certainly not last, but next I have Jared's. I'm going to go with that. Belligerence. For 2 red and X, it deals X damage divided as you choose amongst any number of target creatures. Whenever a creature dealt damage this way dies this turn, populate. You guys have already seen the cards that I have in there that will make tokens. This will just help me make another one. But it's more in here for the fact that, like I said, if Hinata's on the board, I can target everything that I possibly want. All I have to do is pay whatever I want into the X and divide it up how I see fit. Yeah, pretty nasty if I do say so myself. And let's see, the next one is... Wow, I have Baral and Baral's Expertise in this deck, and those are only 2 cards with the name Baral in it, apparently. But Baral's Expertise, for 3 and 2 blue, return up to 3 target artifacts and or creatures to their owner's hands. You may cast a spell with mana value 4 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Both of these abilities are pretty nasty. Even if I paid the whole 5 mana for this, I would still be satisfied, but more often than not, thanks to Hinata and the ways that my instant sorceries are going to cost 1 less all over the place, you're only going to pay 2 blue for this, bounce 3 things, and then you get to cast a spell out of your hand for free. Granted, if you use this ability, unless you have the cards on the board that are making your stuff cost 1 less, don't cast a spell with X, because X is going to end up being 0. But luckily, if you have a bunch of those things that make your spells cost 1 less, or whatever, that can tack on to the X. So that'll help that. But if you don't use a card that has X in it. Let's see. Next I have Booyah. Jaya's Immolating Inferno for 2 red and X. Oh, also it's a legendary sorcery, so you can only cast this if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker, which there are enough of both in here. Well, not planeswalkers necessarily, but there's enough legendary creatures in here. But for 2 red and X, it deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. So, as soon as I pick the 3 targets, with Hinata on the board, that's already 1 damage to them already. So, all I have to do is pay more X into it, and those 3 targets I have chosen, depending on their toughness, obviously, are going to get roasted. And it says up to. I can use this for 1 thing if I chose to. It just depends on the board state, depends on what's going on, you know? And let's see, the next one I have is, there you go. Mystic Retrieval for 3 and a blue. Return target instant or sorcery spell. Target an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Has a flashback that costs less than its normal cost, but has a flashback that costs 2 and a red, which means you may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then you have to exile it. Like I said, with Hinata and all the things I have on the board, a lot of the times you may pay just the blue. You might only pay 2 for this. And a lot of the times that flashback might only be the red. And yeah, bring an instant sorcery card back from your graveyard to your hand. And as you guys see, there are plenty of sorceries. I'm actually almost done with the sorceries. I have 4 left, and then I will go into the instance. And here's a card. Even though I test ran this deck a couple times already, here's a card I just found in my piles, maybe last week. Depending on when you're watching this video, obviously. Might be last year, if somebody, whatever. Cone of Flame for 3 and 2 red. It deals 1 damage to any target, 2 damage to another target, and 3 damage to a third target. Notice target. So with Hinata on the board, this only costs 2 red to possibly roast 3 things. A token, a small creature, and a medium creature. Or I can hit one of my opponents. I can do 1 damage to one opponent, 2 to another, 3 to another. It's all situational. It just depends on what's going on, what the board state is, and yeah, you guys get it. Let's see. Oh, here's a card I just added in this deck, only specifically because I think it's hilarious. And it's Switcheroo. For 4 and a blue, exchange control of 2 target creatures. So with Hinata on the board, this is only gonna cost 2 in the blue because it already has 2 targets. Like I said, I think this will be funny. Say if I have one of those little 1/1 wizards on the board and I cast this, how about I give you this wizard and I take your commander? Or, if somebody has something on the board that's real threatening with their board state, I'll mess around and make 2 of my opponents exchange creatures, and now because you don't have the same board state, whatever creature I made you exchange is not as threatening anymore. Because you don't have the stuff on your board that went with, said creature or whatever the case. But yeah, like I said, I put it in there just for the sole purpose of I thought it was hilarious. Alright, and second to last, sorcery anyway. Shreds of Sanity for 2 and a red. Return up to 1 target instant card and up to 1 target sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Then you have to discard a card. And exile shreds of. Then you have to exile it. So same as pull from the deep. I feel like maybe they put the discard thing in there to make up for the fact that this costs 1 less than that, and for the fact that, I can't say and because this came out way before Hinata did. But yeah, more or less is more than likely just going to cost you 1 red. With her on the board, it is going to cost you 1 red because there's 2 different targets. Granted, yeah, it sucks you have to discard a card, but it is what it is, and then you have to exile it so you won't be able to use it again unless you copy it some way. But, yeah. And let's see, the last sorcery that is in this deck is Reconstruct History. This had to come. 2 and Boros. Return up to 1 target artifact card, up to 1 target enchantment card, up to 1 target instant card, up to 1 target sorcery card, up to 1 target Planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. Then you have to exile this. Yeah, you would have had to exile this because if this can keep going to your graveyard and you can mess around and keep bringing it back to your hand or something like that, this would be broken as hell. And needless to say, with Hinata, this is going to cost Boros. That's it. It's going to cost red and white. You get to return up to, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 target things from your graveyard for A red, yeah. So they had to make this get exiled because I know I would have abused the shit out of it, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. All right, moving on to these instants. I have Icy Blast costs a blue and X, tap X target creatures. And again, with Hinata on the board, that takes care of that X. I can target all your stuff, all my opponent's stuff. But it also has Ferocious. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. Guess who has power 4 or greater? Hinata does. So with her on the board, 1 blue, tap down everything, sleep everything, all your opponent's creatures. Well, that don't have hexproof or shroud anyway. So yeah, it's almost like they foresaw this. Was it 2014? Because yeah, this with Hinata is fucking amazing. Let's see. I have the next one I have is make a stand. For 2 and a white, your creatures you control get +1/+0, gain indestructible until end of turn. More or less just a way to protect my creatures from, say, a mass board wipe, or even just to protect my commander. If somebody did pay all that extra mana to target it or something like that, I'd be like, nah, indestructible. Well, unless they're exiling it, then there's really nothing I can say about that. But yeah, just like a board wipe saver. Let's see what we. Then I have Sun Gold Barrage for 2 and a white. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Just a way in this deck to deal with those big hefty creatures that are annoying late game. And obviously it has the word target, and it's a sorcery, so it's going to end up costing 1 less by the time I need that anyway. Or it might just cost 1 white by the time I need it. Another card that I've always liked. It's 2. Return to Dust. Excuse me. For 2 and 2 white. You can exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast the spell during your main phase, you may exile up to one other target artifact or enchantment. Granted, you can cast this on somebody else's turn if you want to, but more often than not, you're going to cast it on your turn. That way you can exile 2 different things. And there's 2 targets if you cast it on your turn, so with Hinata on the board, it's only going to cost 2 white. 2 white to exile 2 artifacts and or enchantments. Yeah, I think that's pretty nasty. Let's see. Yep. Next, I have Unbreakable Formation for 2 and a white. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. It has Addendum. If you cast this spell during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and they gain vigilance until end of turn. I have only ever cast this for its addendum. For the addendum, if I know I'm about to win. If I know I'm about to attack and take you out. More or less, I hold it in my hand for this. For the indestructible part, in case somebody feels like playing a Day of Judgment, Damnation, excuse me, Wrath of God or something like that. It's more or less in there for that. But I will use it for its addendum if I know I'm about to just take you out and we can get to the next game. Next I has Aurelius Fury for Boros and X. The Fury deals X damage divided as you choose amongst any number of target creatures and or players. Tap each creature dealt damage this way. Players dealt damage this way. Can't cast non-creature spells this turn. It's more or less just, to be honest with you, I forgot that it had that last part, but it's more or less in here with Hinata on the board. This is already starting to be pretty much self-explanatory if you're actually listening. With Hinata on the board, I can target as many things as I want. I can target all my opponents. All I have to do is pay and because of that, that's at least 1 damage to each thing I targeted already. And then I pay as much X as I want into it and divide it up as I see fit. And if some creatures just happen to live, because again, I can target everything. If I just happen to not have enough to destroy that particular creature, it ends up getting tapped. Better than nothing. Alright, and next. Oh, booyah, there it is. I feel like it's just a Boros staple. It's Boros Charm. 4 red and a white. You can choose one. The charm deals 4 damage to target player or Planeswalker, which I'm almost positive I've never used. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. I'm pretty sure that's what I've used the most. It's in there to protect from board wipes or just protect a single creature, whatever the case may be. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. That's one that I have used that before, but I have to know that I'm about to kill you. Boros Charm give whether it be my commander or something else that's about to kill you double strike. That way we can shuffle up and get to the next game. But more or less it's in here for the middle abilities to protect my stuff. Yeah, so the gold, silver, bronze, I guess, because I'm almost absolutely positive I have never used Boros Charm for that first ability, and I've been playing this game for quite some time. And next I have Sky Whaler Shot for 2 and a white. Destroy target creature with power 3 or greater, and you get to scry 1. Like I said, it's just another nice targeted removal for those. I can't even say big late game creatures. Some people's commanders are 3 or greater, and they only cost 3, maybe 4. And as soon as it hits the battlefield, I'm going to need you to go ahead and get rid of that, depending on what it is, And next I have Volcanic Offering. Ridiculous with Hinata, let me tell you. For 4 and a red, destroy target non-basic land you don't control, and target destroy target non-basic land you don't control, and target non-basic land of an opponent's choice you don't control. So that's 2 targets right there already. Volcanic Offering deals 7 damage to target creature you don't control, and 7 damage to target creature of an opponent's choice you don't control. This is one of those cards. Well, first of all, with Hinata on the board, it's only going to cost 1 red, because there are 4 targets in this spell. You get to blow up some stuff, and an opponent. This could be political. You destroy some stuff you see that's threatening, and an opponent can destroy other stuff that from a different opponent, not just their stuff. If they have to choose their own stuff, then that's their problem. But we can have a third opponent or a fourth opponent that has threatening stuff on the board, and they can use the other 2 abilities to get rid of their stuff. And yeah, like I said, with Hinata on the board, that's only going to cost 1 red, because there are 4 different targets, and that is awesome. Next, and we are almost done, but I have Prismatic Boon for Azorius and X target creatures gain protection from a single color of your choice until end of turn. Another way, almost like not so much the indestructible, but another way to protect my stuff. Say somebody had something almost the same kind of ability as mine, where they could target multiple things. I can pay this, and with Hinata, all I have to do, gain protection from a single color of your, all I have to do is choose the color, and with Hinata on the board, I can target all my stuff. and they gain protection from said color until end of turn. Could be a way to kill somebody too, depending on their colors of their decks, or if they're running a mono-colored commander deck and you have enough that you can swing for lethal, or whatnot. You can give all your creatures protection from whatever color they have, and then they can't block it. And that's all she wrote. Let's see, and the next. And like I said, we are almost done. This is the third to last instant, actually. It is Comet Storm for two blue and red. I said 2 blue and red. I'm tripping. 2 red and X. It has multi-kicker. You may pay an additional 1 any number of times to cast. As you cast this spell, choose any target, then choose another target for each time this spell was kicked. Comet Storm does X damage to each of them. Look at that. There's already 2 targets. There's another thing, that'll help me pay X. She'll help target them and wipe out some stuff. Second to last, and we are almost done here. I have March of Swirling Mist that I pulled in the same box that I put Hinata in. For blue and X, first of all, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of blue cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 generic less to cast for each card exiled this way. Up to X target creatures phase out. The way that works is while things are phased out, they're treated as though they don't exist. Each one phases in before its controller's untap step. I'm sorry. Each one phases in before its controller untaps during their next untap step. I've gotten this out. That's pretty nasty. I've gotten this out and used it multiple times. I've never had to exile any blue cards from my hand because with the Hinata on the board and the way that my instant sorceries cost 1 less, I can use it both ways. If somebody's about to attack me for lethal, I can do this and make their creatures phase out. Say if somebody does have a board wipe, but I don't have any of those cards in my hand that makes my stuff indestructible, I can make all my stuff phase out. And then everybody's stuff is destroyed but mine. So yeah, that can good offensively. Well, I can't say offensively. Well, you can make their stuff phase out if you want to swing for lethal. So I guess, it is good offensively or defensively. And the last instant that I have in this deck is Faithful Absent. 1 and a white, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Its controller investigates. The fact that you can just destroy a creature or planeswalker for 1 and a white is amazing in its own right. I could care less that I'm giving you that. Clue token. Oh, for anybody who doesn't know, investigate means create a clue token. It's an artifact with when you pay 2, you sacrifice it and you draw a card. That's what investigate means. Yeah, I could really care less that I'm giving my opponent a clue token. The fact that, with Hinata on the board or with any of those lower costs, but one white, destroy a creature or a planeswalker. That's insane. Insane to me. Oh, and I said I was almost done. I still have to talk about the artifacts that are in this deck, but there are only 6 of them, so this should not take long. And the first one that just happened to be on the top of my list is Worn Power Stone. 3-drop artifact. It enters the battlefield tap, so hopefully if you can get it out early game, that's cool. Late game, you may as well just pitch this. But enters the battlefield taps for 2 colorless. So that's that. Next, you guys knew one of these was in here. Needs pretty much no introduction. It is a Soul Ring. Costs 1. 1 colorless. Artifact. Taps for 2 colorless. It's a Soul Ring. Y'all know what a Soul Ring is. And let's see. And also, of course, these cards are in there to help me cast my spells, but they're really in here to pump up those X spells. Or they're mana rocks. They help all the way around. And another one that I have is Thrawn Dynamo. Another one I've always loved since back in the day. Costs 4, and it taps for 3 colorless. Just keep pumping that stuff up and getting it out faster. Why don't we? And have Booyah. Hedron Archive costs 4, taps for 2 colors, or you can pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice it. And you can draw 2 cards. So it has the utility that, yeah, you can use it for mana until you don't need to use it for mana anymore, or if you need to draw 2 cards and hope for the best, because maybe you're drawing dead, maybe you're drawing into something. You can only hope. And the last 2 that I have in here. One is, where are you? Booyah. Arcane Signet for cost 2, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. So I can tap this for 1 of America, and yeah, definitely helps color fix for 2 mana. Pretty awesome. And the last one, some of you may have wondered if this was going to be in this deck, and it most definitely is, because there's no way I think I will ever make a 3-color or higher commander deck that doesn't run Chromatic Lantern. Costs 3 for this artifact. Lands you control can tap for any color that you want. And this artifact itself taps for any color that you want. So, yeah, any deck that I have, me personally, that's just me, that has 3 or more colors. 2 colors I don't think is really necessary. You can run signets for that. But, any deck for me personally that has 3 or more colors, yeah, Chromatic Lantern is coming. So, there you go. Like I said, I know I normally cover my non-basic lands, but the non-basic lands I have in here are nothing overwhelming or really have any kind of utility for anything that I'm doing. They're just in here for mana fixing, dual lands, like I said, gates and stuff like that, Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds, so I can go get my basic lands that I need, stuff like that, but nothing too exciting. But there you go, that is my deck, that is my personal deck for Hinata Dawn Crown. Any suggestions, please feel free to comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I appreciate the few people who do watch my videos. I'm not a super mega star or anything like that. I just like making videos for fun, because it's fun. But like I said, any suggestions that anybody may have, anything I should take out, anything I should put in, anything I should look into for this deck, please feel free to comment. Like I said, I'm not a mega superstar or anything like that. I see all my comments, so I will comment back. But, alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed. So until next time, peace.